Welcome to the Success Pick and Mix podcast. I'm your host, Nicky Raby, a professional pick and mixer. I'm a personal brand coach, a speaker, an actor, a creator, and a podcaster. I'm on a mission to help you find and create your version of success. Your pick and mix of life and business on your terms. A blend that complements your personality, your goals, and your circumstances. Since 2018, I've been sharing interviews and mini episodes to help you unlock your next step, to make it real and make it happen. Round here, we dream big. We go for the ideal version. We talk about money and make moves our future selves would be proud of. This podcast is free and available for you whenever you need it. So do rate, review, and subscribe for new episodes. If you want to go deeper with my support, check out my freebies house and unlock the rooms you choose. nickyraby.com/freebies house. I also have workshops, programs, and one-on-one bespoke offerings. For prices and availability, go to nickyraby.com. Thank you, as always, for spending some time with me and my guests. Now, on to today's episode. In today's episode, I talked to Christabel Saul, who is the founder and curator of The Mother Maker. She's half Danish, half Australian, and moved to the UK 10 years ago to develop her love for theatre, film, and fashion work. She now lives in Somerset with her husband and her 3 children, and she launched The Mother Maker in 2017 to celebrate and support mums in creative industries. With the launch of their online marketplace in November of last year, she now spends her time curating the website by hand selecting independent mum-run brands and products that she loves. I love this chat with Christabel. She has so much kind of down-to-earth, grounded information. Also, she's juggling 3 kids, but I love her passion for supporting the creative industries. We really need more of people like her around. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. As always, come over to nickyraby.com/podcast and share your thoughts. Here's the episode. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. We're just talking about packing off the kids and like we can get some stuff done. We're recording this in the Easter holiday, so it's probably a bit wild. Anyway, I'd love to know like what you do and more about Mother Maker.
Yeah, so I officially launched the Mother Maker in July of last year, but I actually registered the domain name in January of 2017. I actually had the idea for it a long time ago, but never really had the confidence to get cracking with it. So my little Freya was about a month old, and I thought, right, this is my opportunity. She's sleeping a lot in the day. And I started getting work on it. And so I launched the Mother Maker with the idea that we would be a platform for mums to basically share what they're doing, to promote their businesses, to promote their brands, and to really put emphasis on the work that these mothers do, not only being a brand owner and creating and being creative, but also being a parent as well, and the juggle and the hardship of it. And I really just wanted to promote them. So that's when we decided to launch a marketplace where sort of similar to the Etsy and the Not on the High Street, but I wanted to do something that was a little bit more different, that just was much more curated, just better products and just a nice feeling to it. And then the markets came sort of very organically, because I found that actually a lot of people, well, I think for 2 reasons, really. I think being able to see the products in real life was a real important part of what we were doing, because I think a lot of it is very tactical. You want to be able to see the quality of the products that are being made and designed. But then what actually ended up sort of coming out of it was a real way for us to meet people face to face.
Yes.
So our makers were able to network with each other. I think so much of what we do now, especially being a mum, we tend to sort of go towards the online side of things because that's what we can manage from home.
Yeah.
But I think once we get out of our comfort zone and we meet people face to face and we start doing things in real life, that's actually when real connections are made. And it's since doing the markets, I've made real friendships,
Yeah.
and it's on being online, there's such a barrier with it, you know, and although you kind of feel like you get to know someone through social media and you watch their stories and you think, oh, I really like this girl, you know, she's really cool. You don't really get to know someone until you meet them in real life. So yes, we started doing the markets, and then we haven't really pushed it yet, but we're definitely sort of more going to lean towards the idea of workshops and exhibitions and things, because I think the whole idea of celebrating creativity and motherhood and these amazing brands is being able to share our skills. And I think the idea of workshops is that sort of, I want to give my mums or the mother makers as much as they can in terms of earning potential. There's only so much that you can earn online. There's only so much that you can earn on, you know, at markets. But if you can start doing workshops, you start networking, I think that's a really important part of it. So watch the space. So that's basically what we are. And obviously 80% of our business is online, and that's, you know, the big focus. But yeah, the markets and the event side of things is also a really lovely part.
Amazing. How did that start from, you know, I remember those moments well of having a very tiny baby, but then also having although I was exhausted, really having an active brain of like, I'm going to change the world, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to launch this, which was bizarre because I had zero time. And, you know, if I'd had a shower by 2:00 in the afternoon, I was somehow winning at life. It's so weird. When people used to say like, oh, you won't get out the house for like 8:30 or you won't be able to do this, I thought, you're a complete wally. Why are you so incompetent? And then it's like, oh, no, you really can't. It's really hard. But how did you pull together that idea, sort of get the wheels in motion?
Do you know what? I think it's really funny. I think Freya was my third child. And I think every child I had, I had to overcome this identity crisis. You know, I really had to sort of assess, well, what am I going to do with my life? I knew from the moment I first became a mum, I wasn't the kind of person that wanted to become a mum, just be a mum. I knew that I wanted something to go with and to do, sort of go out on my own and do something for myself. And when Freya was born, and I had this idea going around my head, and I think it's funny because I think, yeah, like you said, getting out of the house at 8:30 in the morning, it's some days it did seem like a big struggle. But actually, I feel like being a new mum gave me this new sense of energy. Like, I had this real, like, go get it attitude. My husband thought I was mad, you know. I mean, I think literally in the first week she was born, you know, I was like, right, let's go to the park. Come on, let's take the dog. My husband was like, just take it easy. You don't need to go anywhere. It's like, no, let's do stuff, you know, and let's organise lunch with friends. And you know, I had friends coming over from London to visit us, and I was cooking meals, and you know, I had my downtime as well, but I'm not a lazy person. I've never been the kind of person that could just sit and not do anything. So that was the first thing, is that I knew that this was my time where I had the most energy, I had the most enthusiasm, and I thought, this is my moment, because if I don't do it now, I'm going to seriously regret it. And I don't think there's ever a perfect time to start something. I think once you've got an idea and you know exactly what you want to do, just go for it, and it will evolve eventually. You know, I think the idea for the Mother Maker was definitely much more an idea of just being like an online retail platform. And the event side of things really only came sort of towards the summer, when I realized, actually, no, I thrive off meeting other people and connecting with people in real life. And I knew, having been a mother and at home for so long, I knew that if I didn't have that you know, meeting people in real life and doing stuff and the excitement of doing events, I think I would be very, very bored. And also, it's like, you know, when you work at home on your own, you know, it can be really lonely because you're not having anyone to have banter with or anything like that. So I think, so
you don't kind of have those checks and balances either, of sort of equally those people who are saying, gosh, that looks really good, or like, tell me what you're doing here, you know, like you would in an office environment. But also I find that if I don't have that interaction, I can quickly spiral into is this good enough? Is this going to work? I'm tired. I just want to get under the duvet. You know, it can quickly move into that area. So how quickly was it from you having the idea to going, okay, let's go for this and get it up and running?
I think it was a good year. I think that was a good year where I think it was a massive confidence thing, and you saw these people that had thousands and thousands of followers on Twitter and Instagram, and these big major corporations that had, lots of marketing budget. You think, how am I going to compete with that? My little business, run from home on my laptop. But, you've got to start somewhere, haven't you? So that's where I thought, right, I had the name in my head for ages, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to register the domain name. That can be my first step. And then it wasn't until 6 months later, after playing around, I think actually for me, the most important part was actually developing the logo and so I'd always loved graphic design. And I'd always been very good at doing like stuff on Photoshop and Illustrator, but I'd never done a real proper logo before. I was playing around on my computer one night, and actually I was breastfeeding Freya, and the logo just came, and I thought, right, okay, I've got it. I've actually got something to start with. So I've got the domain name, I've got the logo, I've got the idea, and then I just literally set about building the website myself, and that was the start of it, really. Yeah.
And it's funny, isn't it, when those confidence crises pop up to say hello, am I ready to do this? That sometimes what you're actually doing on one side is you're doing all the actions. And so you have to look at it quite practically and go, okay, I can't really make excuses anymore. I actually have to do this because it's working and I'm doing it. And okay, off we go. It'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was for me, when I launched the when I launched the Instagram handle, that again was another pinnacle moment, because I was like, oh my God, I have to do my first post. What am I gonna, where am I gonna start? It was just it was so daunting. And my husband was really supportive, but equally he was very cautious, because he was he knew what I was getting myself into. He knew exactly, right, he started a couple of businesses in his journey, his career journey, and he knew, what I was taking on.
Yeah.
So he was the sort of the sensible voice in my head. And then there's me, who's the go get him. I don't care. I'm just going to the bull in me. I'm a bit
totally.
Of a bull.
Yeah. Did you have an entrepreneurial spirit before having kids, or was it something that was revealed once you became a mum?
Do you know what? I was looking back actually at my career history, and everything that I've done has been very much freelance based, apart from a few roles that I've had with sort of bigger companies. I did look back and think, actually, you know what? I was very much a work on my own terms kind of person, and I always have been. I think that creative freedom is what really drove me to do what I was doing. But it's a difficult one, because when you say entrepreneur, you still sort of doubt yourself, because entrepreneur sounds like such a grand word.
It sounds like someone in a nylon suit, doesn't it? That is just working from a yacht.
Exactly. I don't know.
Is that where you are today? I'm just in the Indian Ocean here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, quite.
Exactly. I've got my private jet coming to collect me in half an hour.
Perfect.
No. I think so. My dad has actually been a big influence in who I am today. My dad, what I would say, is definitely what I would call an entrepreneur, and he's had his finger in many pies and done lots of really interesting stuff. So I think definitely watching him sort of develop different businesses and a lot of online stuff has made me think, actually, do you know what? It's not as difficult as everyone makes it out to be. And you kind of just gotta, I think you've got to have your own USP, and you've got to, there's a lot of people doing the same things. And you're inevitably, no matter what you do in life, there's going to be someone who's come up with the same idea as you.
Yes.
And I think then you've got to find a way of being different. And I think that's when you can find your own niche thing, that's when I think you can call yourself an entrepreneur, because you're being completely different to everyone else. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think just kind of, going for it and sort of being a self-starter and knowing whatever happens and however that manifests. I look back myself and I kind of think, it was still the same person, but it was like I was just trying on different outfits. And I think knowing what your own core beliefs are and the stuff that really lights you up is really important. I know we talked about making mistakes a little bit, because nobody really talks about this. And I've made some huge ones that, you know, have been huge learning lessons. I mean, they weren't at the time. They were manifested in an ugly cry, like, will I ever recover from this, whatever it might be. But actually, when I look back on them, I'm like, oh, I learned something from that, or I'm so glad I figured out that bit, because that was really useful. And I now realise that my bounce back rate is much quicker, whereas before I may have made a mistake and then I would have been, you know, mourning that time for a week afterwards. Well, now I'm a bit like, okay, cool, that was that, let's get on with it. How have you coped with learning lessons? Let's put it nicely.
Do you know what's really interesting? I actually had therapy for the first time after. So my Henry is now 6. So probably about 4 years ago, I had some therapy sessions, and the biggest thing that came out of it was this idea of self-doubt and not being a good mother to myself, and how important it is to reassure yourself, to trust yourself, to give yourself a good pat on the back, even when you know that you've done something wrong or it hasn't worked out. Someone just a little voice in your head to say, it's okay, you know, it's to do mistakes. And that was the biggest thing. So I've done, you know, everyone's made loads of mistakes. You know, I look back at my entire career history as a bit of a mistake. And I think, you know, I was a bit lazy. You know, I didn't really do much. I had so many opportunities on my platter. And I just look back and think, oh, what an idiot you are, Christabel. You know, you didn't take it for all it was worth. You know, you just sort of, skied along, sort of looking at the view, not really actually taking everything, that came my way. And that took a long time to realize that, I could have been, in a different place. I could have been in a different country. I could have been doing something else. But it was taking actually that ideal situation where you've got someone giving you a really big opportunity, and actually saying it was okay to say no at that time.
Yes.
You weren't ready for it. You weren't, it's okay to say no and to just go on and take that and wait for the next opportunity to come. And I think for me, it wasn't until I had kids that next opportunity came. And that came in the form of me wanting to start something for myself. And if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be where I was today. So it's a real tricky one.
Yeah, and I bet the progress that you've made has probably been quite quick, because now you've had that flip side of like, actually what happens if this comes up a lot, like the Cosmo quiz of like, if I do this, follow the arrows and follow the story that way. Whereas now you know what it's like not to take the opportunity. It's probably given you a bit of a lioness, like, let's do this quality, and the progress has probably been much quicker.
Totally, I started having kids very young, and at first I looked at that as a mistake. You can look at those sort of life choices and think, oh, was that the right decision I made? And I love my kids and I love my life. But we've moved away from London when I was pregnant with Henry, so that was 6 years ago, because the cost of living in London was just too high, and we just wanted a better lifestyle for ourselves. And at that time, I really struggled with that because my whole life was just completely and utterly changed. So not only was I thrown into the world of motherhood, but I was taken away from my social network. And that was another big thing that popped up in my therapy, was I saw that as a mistake. I saw that as, I had my mum and my dad in my ear saying, you sure this is the right decision? You're very young. I was only 24 at the time. And now looking back at it with a sort of, a much, dare I say, like a wiser eye, I know that was the right decision for me, because it completely gave me the thing that motherhood gives you, which is that drive.
Yes.
And if I didn't have that, I would have been plodding along, happily living my life in London, probably going out a little bit too much, probably being a bit too reckless with money, and living this singleton lifestyle. So my husband always jokes and says, oh, I wonder where you would have ended up if you hadn't met me.
That came up in another podcast of thinking, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that I had children with the man that I had kids with, because, I could have been in all kinds of scrapes. And anyway, that is another story over a glass of wine between you and I.
So I think it is. I think it's really important to look at your mistakes and actually not look at them as mistakes, but just look at them as those little journeys of life, and then, that's like you said, like those Cosmo quizzes, there's little arrows that sort of change your direction. Yeah.
What's been really useful in terms of you making, like business-wise, what's really helped you to boost your brand and to get your message out there?
I think definitely social media. It plays a massive role. I mean, we're a small business. We don't have marketing budget, and I used to work for Red Bull, and I used to watch their marketing departments, have millions of pounds to spend on marketing, and I used to dream of that moment when I could splash out on TV adverts and things. I was like, oh, wouldn't it be fantastic? You could really get your brand message out. But actually, I think social media is a really strong one, because not only can you communicate, the ideas behind your brand, the things that you love, but also you can communicate yourself. And actually, you are no matter what you do in life, you're the brand. You know what I mean? You're the person behind it. You're the voice. And I think social media is a really powerful tool to give you that voice, and to a very attentive audience.
Yes. And it's something you have creative control over as well. I've really realised that actually a lot of my coaching clients, or like my speakers agent found me on Instagram, is that's people come through that platform. And when I trained as a coach, like Instagram wasn't kind of part of my marketing at all, but you're right. It gives you that opportunity to show who you are. And also, we still want to connect with people. We don't want to just hide behind big brands necessarily.
No, we don't. Exactly. And I think people are becoming more aware of, who is behind the brand, who is that person, can they relate to that person? So yeah, I think it's great. But equally, I think as well, that it can be quite daunting for some, and for me anyway. I went through a spell of where I thought, right, I really want to be a blogger. And that was another one of those mistakes that I thought, actually, no, it wasn't me. It was definitely, I was riding along an imitation wave, and I definitely didn't feel like I was trying to find my identity, and actually it just wasn't me. But yeah, I think, so that whole idea of social media and promoting yourself, it can be quite daunting, because it can feel like it's quite conceited and quite vain. I think if you're not, you feel like, I have to shout out about myself,
and it's so personal, isn't it?
It is, you're showing quite intimate parts of your life, because you feel like actually that's what people want to hear. They want to hear the real stuff, So that it can be quite daunting, but equally it can be quite fun, because the banter is great, and you've had a really, 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 dare I say, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this, but a really crap day, to go on to social media, and you go on to some of the people that you follow, and they just, they do a funny story, or they do something, or someone writes you a funny message to say, I've also had a really crap day. That's really nice, because you get to have one-on-one conversations with customers and followers and, other brands. So
totally. Yeah, I think that sort of connection with other people really helps. And often that's how business really comes through, the people who are in your network. And one thing that I found is the community is so supportive. The amount of people that have said, let me introduce you, and I would do it for them as well, let me introduce you to this person, or you should go to this event, or do you want to come with me to this? And it's been really lovely to feel like you're supported, and especially in the beginning by complete strangers, because maybe you've not met these people in real life beforehand.
I know, and then it's like you get these endearing words, and you think, they didn't have to say that. They didn't know me, and they've just gone out of their way to write a comment to me, or write me a direct message to say, they really related with that, or they really loved that post, or, and that's really nice. That's where you feel like, okay, it's not all about money. It's about doing something that you really love doing. And I think, I think that's nice. Yeah.
How does it work practically for you to switch from being mum of 3 into I've got 4 hours and I need, or 45 minutes and I need to get stuff done? Only because I'm at a place where I've got one kid and he's 2.5 now, and it's that, like, I feel like, I mean, I'm not going to be as cocky to say it. We feel like we've got this figured out, because you know what they're like. They will suddenly, throw a massive... Yeah, exactly. But, thinking about the next few years of sort of expanding family and, if I'm lucky enough to do this, God, it's getting personal today on the podcast. But, 3 is definitely a bigger number than 1. How has that been for you in still having time for business? And I'd love to know more about that.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting thing. And I'll start with saying, when I started this business, I sort of had this idealized sort of idea of everyone really making it work. I thought, like, oh my God, these mothers have created these brands and they've got these really successful businesses, and I thought, there is a balance, like they can do it. And actually, what's actually come out of it is that the busier that we get with our work, the harder it gets, and that is inevitable. And I don't think people talk about it enough. And we have this dream of working for ourselves, thinking we have more time.
Working for ourselves at midnight.
Yes, exactly. And we work till hours in the morning, and we are stressed, and we're pulled in every direction.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny, because actually, I think going back, if you were to then, say, someone who goes on maternity leave and sort of likes the idea of being able to work for themselves, I think going back, I think that they would then go back and find that actually turning up to work for a 9-to-5 job and being able to switch off when you got home is sometimes far easier. Whether or not you get as much life satisfaction from it, no, I don't think you do. I think you get a lot more life satisfaction from knowing that you've built a brand from scratch. But how I manage it, there is no perfect answer, but I have a very, very, very clear divide between the time that I spend with my family and the time that I spend working. And actually, this week or last week was a really good example of that. I completely and utterly switched off. So after our event at the V&A Museum of Childhood, it was a really, really stressful 2 weeks leading up to that event, and I felt like I didn't see my kids. I didn't feel like I was giving them enough attention, and I wasn't getting them to bed at night. My husband was doing that because I've just got to get this done. And so I took a complete week off work, and when I say a complete week off work, I probably spent the best part of 2 hours within that week, maybe catching up on some really urgent emails, paying some invoices, and I didn't have my on me. I think my phone is a big part of that. I think when you've got such a short window of time to work, or when you've got such a short window of time to spend with your kids, put your phone away. Put it in your bag. Whatever is there, it will be there when you get back to your phone. It's not going to go anywhere, and you're not going to miss anything. Live in that moment. And I think I'm the biggest, and it's funny actually me saying that now, because actually I can be the biggest culprit of that. I would look at my phone over and over, that obsession with, I've got new followers, or I've got a really important message from someone, or it's one thing after the next. And a prime example is a phone call came in. I was on my phone for literally about 7 minutes. I come back and Freya had destroyed the entire bathroom and taken all the toilet paper off the roll and just destroyed the bathroom. And I thought, this is not who I am. I'm not being a mother here. I'm not looking after them. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. She could have climbed up onto the stove and turned the oven on.
Yeah.
I might have been completely and utterly unaware. And I know we all have those moments where you think we're not completely on the ball here and we're juggling a few too many balls. But I think it is really important to have that divide. And equally as well, I think we all have those moments where we're really stressed with work. There's always going to be a moment where something's going to come up that's going to take our attention away, and it's going to be very, very difficult to keep our cool. And especially when you've got small children, they can test our patience, to put it mildly.
Yes.
and it can sometimes, when you've got something that you really want to finish, and they're really pulling you away from it, it can be very, very difficult to maintain that patience. And they can sense it too. They know when you're busy. They know when you really need to do something.
If I have to do something in the evening after bedtime, like Oscar can sniff it out. Like, let me extend this as long. Oh no, that's not the book that I want. Oh, I need the potty. I need a drink. I need whatever it might be. And they know way more than what we think they do as well. It can be, but that's so refreshing to hear that you have those two different sides, because I think sometimes this thing of having it all or multitasking, I feel like it's really overrated, because I know that I can't write a cracking email and parent my child and play, train sets at the same time, because I just can't do it. Especially if you're tired as well. It's enough to kind of concentrate on one thing.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to remember that we can only do our best. I think the more pressure that we put out on ourselves, I've got to get my brand to this level, I've got to get this, I've got to get this far by this far. I think the more we put limits on ourselves, and yes, I think it's very healthy to have, achievable targets. But I think actually when you start not enjoying it, when you start not enjoying life, then you really need to ask yourself, actually, why am I doing this?
Yes.
I started this business because there came a point where I thought, right, I really want to contribute to this family. I really want to make something out of this. But equally, I want to be around. I don't want to look back and think I totally missed out on my kids' childhood. I totally missed out on that time with them. And if it means that I have to stay on my laptop till 3 o'clock in the morning to get something done, then so be it. And yes, I might be a moody bitch the next day, but I'm doing what I want to do, and that's I want to achieve something for my career, and I want to be around for my kids, and I have my days with my kids, and I have my days that my kids are in childcare, and that's when I get things done. So yeah.
It's and I feel like it's more how you deal with it, because there's always going to be, like, there's never going to get to a point where I know sometimes my coaching clients go, well, when my kid goes to school, then I'll start, or when they sleep through the night, and actually, whatever happens, more challenges are going to come through. And I remember Oscar being really tiny. And I was saying to my mum, like, I don't think it will actually ever be this hard. And she looked at me like, oh my goodness, she has no idea what's to come. Or like, or even when I was thinking back to the 17-year-old version of myself being a bit gobby and my mum scraping me off a pavement because I'd had too much Blue Wicked or whatever it might be, I'm sure it was under the influence of somebody else, nothing to do with me. But it's there's always going to be challenges and things that you have to overcome. So, I wanted to just ask you one final question, which is, where would you like to be in 5 years' time?
Oh, that's a really tricky one.
Yeah.
I would love to see this business be really successful. I'm not going to lie. I would love to have more money. I would love to be, have more time for my kids and be able to hand a lot of the admin time of this business over to other people, to be brutally honest. So I would love to be at a point where we can hire people. That would be my ultimate dream. I think as well, I think we've got this I've got this dream of living somewhere hot and living maybe in Ibiza or, somewhere
amazing.
But, I'm not, like I said, I'm setting myself achievable targets, and I'm not going to be upset if I'm not there in 5 years' time. It may take a little bit longer. But as long as I still love what I'm doing and I still love, all the work that I do for the Mother Maker, and I get to see my kids, then I'm happy, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I was just thinking, gosh, we'll be in such different realm of kids being older, kids being able to put their shoes on by themselves. What a treat.
I know, and I won't have to take a buggy everywhere I go.
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna sometimes I looked at my guns the other day. I was like, wow, okay, like I'm not exercising, but oh no, it's the buggy and lugging out around the toddler. But thank you so much. Like, if people want to come and find out more about you and the Mother Maker, where shall they go?
So if you head to themothermaker.com or our Facebook and Instagram page, there's more information and you can see all the wonderful products that we're selling.
Amazing. And there's some gorgeous ones on there. I came down to the market and I stupidly realised like shopping with a toddler is not conducive. But I got so many of the cards and like been doing my own look-sees online, and there's some gorgeous things. So yeah, go and have a look. Thank you, Christabel.
Thank you so much, Nicky.
See you soon. Bye. 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 Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you haven't already, feel free to rate, review, and subscribe for all the brand new episodes. If you want to go deeper with my support, check out my freebies house and unlock the rooms you choose. nickyraby.com/freebies house. I also have workshops, programs, and one-on-one bespoke offerings. For prices, availability, or just to have a chat with me, go to nickyraby.com. Thank you, as always, for spending some time with me and my guests, and I'll see you next time.